Is being live streamed. Excellent. Good job, Don.
Negative K, nothing further. Just take Cammy on the corner. That's a direct order. Do it now.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. We are Roll Call, Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. Today is Thursday, September the 5th, 2024. And I'm here with a few of my friends. I'm here with D Schoon. I'm here with Ty Green. I'm here with Jerry. I'm here with Dave, Mark, The Quiet Storm, Kyle Rose Louder, T-Bone, Derek, Rich, Jim, and Jamel is with us, and AC is in and out with us. He's taking care of some business as well. But we're here today, and we're glad you guys are able to join us. But before we go into that, I'm going to ask that if Jamel will give us our statement of
Good
purpose.
afternoon, everybody. There are four FYIs that we want to remind our audience of and let you all know if you're new to us. That the first is that the statements that you're going to hear from our panelists are really their personal opinions that they have come to from their work experience, from their life experience, and we do not intend for you to use any of their comments as legal advice. We come from all different jurisdictions. The law, as you or might be aware of, changes from place to place, county to county, state to state. So something that we say that pertains to us in our state may not help you at all in your state. So just be careful of that, be mindful of that. And if you need legal advice, please seek out legal counsel in your jurisdiction. Secondly, we're probably going to play some videos for you. We typically do that. It helps us with our conversation and steers us in the direction that we want to go for the day. And sometimes these videos can be a little graphic. They're typically of a law enforcement type incident. So we'll just give you a heads up that they're coming. We don't intend to offend anybody by the nature of the video. We just want to give you a little leadway so that you know what you're about to see. These videos that we use come from social media platforms. We don't own them. We don't produce them. We have no legal right to them other than except as all the general public does. We lift them from all kinds of social media platforms, just like you would and share with your friends and family. So just so that you know that we are not responsible for the production of these videos. And lastly, we speak from the heart. We do not censor one another. We allow us our to say what we need to say in the manner in which we want to say it and use the language we want to use. So please know that we don't intend to offend anybody by the nature of our language, but we also don't censor one another, and we allow the panelists to speak freely and from their heart. And that's it from me.
All right, Jamel.
Everyone. We are Roll Call, also known as Black, White, and Blue for Better Relations. And our statement of purpose is that we have four principal tenets that we abide by. We are pro-law enforcement. We are anti-racist. We believe in equitable policing. And of course, Black Lives Matter. Thank you, Donald.
Thank you. Before we move on, let's just have a moment of silence for law enforcement that were killed, um, our military, and then all those students, personnel, students, personnel in the schools, mass shootings that take place. We had one yesterday that we'll talk about when we come back. Just a moment of silence. right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Um, Before we go in any further, I just want to say we're still praying for Cheech and Anna. We're still praying for Isabel. That's Rich's wife. We're praying for her. She had a procedure, and praying for Rich as well. We're praying for JT in Orlando, Melba, Dave. We're still praying for you, Jerry, and the mother-in-law, Mary Barrows. We're praying for who I had someone else in my mind. AC and Jeanette, I said them. Praying for my family. For those who don't know, I had a loss in my family. Had to eulogize my cousin on yesterday. And I'm back in town now, running around doing some stuff. And praying for every person on this panel right now, even though you may not have shared anything, but praying for you and your families. Again, happy birthday to Dawn Matthews, Mark's wife, whose birthday was on the 3rd, my mother, whose birthday was yesterday, and anyone else who's celebrating birthdays, because a real national holiday is coming up on the 16th. That's a real amen. Listen, we got a show for you. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me go to something else real quick before I forget. I got this notice today from a good friend of mine, Mark Matthews, and also D, from Matt Threadgill. Matt Threadgill has got a defensive drivers course coming up on Friday, September 27th. It's going to be held at the Hempstead Public Library, 115 James A. Garner Way, Hempstead, New York. The price is $40. And for seniors and veterans, it's $30. Must register in advance. Let me see. A contact number is let me make sure because I read it earlier, but I just want to make sure. 516-481-6990. And that's for a defensive driver's course. Friday, September 27th from 10:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m. You need proof of age or service. The space is limited, so get in there. Let me just say this: I had Matt come out to my church out in Southampton, and Matt did it for my church, and he allowed you to use it as a fundraiser. So yeah, I think he gives you back like $10 for every person that registers, so you can get a return on that as well. Then the question was asked, anything out in Suffolk County? And there is September 14th at Longwood Library, 800 Middle Country Road, Middle Island, New York. The telephone number there is 631-924-6400. Also September 25th and 26th from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. Pre-registration is required. September 28th, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Revealed Word Christian Center, 230-01 Linden Boulevard, Cambria Heights, New York. That telephone number is 718-276-0300. So those are the places that Matt Threadgill will be giving these defensive drivers courses. Let me tell you, church, I'm acting like I'm in church right now.
Church too.
To the people that are listening to me, he does a wonderful, I mean, a wonderful job. And that 8 hours go by so fast when Matt does these classes. So it's really good. Matt will give you his personal story, how he was injured, almost lost his life twice, and how doctors practiced on him, but the Lord put him back together. I mean, he'll tell you that story. So I really promote that. I'm glad someone has. I've done it a few times with Matt. So listen, it's worth it. If you need to know later on, and maybe I could put it on our page as well and share it on there, so those who need it can go ahead and take advantage of it. I'll put it on my personal page also. I believe those were my announcements. Does anyone have anything else before I ask Dee to go into it?
Yo, just real quick, Don, just for that defensive driving courses, since we do have people that are non-law enforcement, you get up to 30% of your insurance for 3 years. I think that's the most important thing to admit. You'll get and even if you do it after your last one is canceled, the insurance company has to backdate you. So they'll probably just take it out of what you owe. But I know some people have gotten checks back from the insurance company. So just keep that at 30%. I don't know. I'm there.
All I'm glad you did bring that up because I did that. I'm telling you, my insurance went and I really enjoyed it. So and let me tell you that when it expires, you'll see it go and go the other direction. So so just make sure you keep up with it. All right.
Yeah.
So thank you for that. I know I don't know I don't know who said that. No, I saw Mark's name on there, D and Matt's name on there. So I don't know where it actually came from because I'm like I said, I'm in a conference even right now, but I saw it. I said we'll make sure we'll share that today. All right, and we'll try to make if you'll remember, remind me to share it next week as well. Okay. We Yesterday was a day where we had another mass shooting. And I don't know when this country would realize that these guns. I know people always say, "Oh, people kill, people kill." Yeah, that is true, but they're killing with guns. So we really need to talk about that. And I'm sorry, I see Jim's hand is up already, but hold up, Jim, before you go, I want to say I want to recognize Donald Coleman, Karen Caffey, Beverly Harrison Wells, um, Eric Jones. Um, I want to thank those. I know my wife is on. I want to thank those who watch us each week. Thank you for taking time out to watch us. Okay, Jim, go ahead.
I think everybody knows how I feel about gun control. And another school shooting takes place, another couple of kids killed, a couple of teachers killed. When are we going to realize it's guns? Guns, the accessibility to guns. People say, oh, it's mental health issues. Well, there may be mental health issues, but the rest of the world has mental health issues. How come it's only America that leads the young death rate in guns and in killings with guns? You know, I mean, you could talk about Russia. You're Russia. There's no mental health problems in Russia, no mental
Right.
health problems in Europe. So we're not saying there's no mental health doesn't have a piece of it, but what's the common denominator here in America? The accessibility of guns, especially assault type guns that could kill a lot of people very quickly. And the time has come where we just have to make the change and we have to start getting strict national gun control laws where every state has the same laws. I mean, Georgia, when they did a survey, Georgia on their gun safety rating got an F. Georgia got an F. It failed gun safety. And there's no, when we talked to Melba could tell us that yeah, anybody could walk in and get a gun. So if you just take that out of the equation or make it harder to get, a 14-year-old should not be able to get their hands on an assault type weapon, period.
Right.
And one of the
Right.
other things I've said, I know it doesn't go over big with a lot of people, is that start holding the parents criminally responsible if their kid gets a hold of their weapon and killed some other people with it. Start holding them criminally responsible. Now, if they're held criminally responsible, they'll get their day in court. And if it was something that they couldn't help happen, blah, 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 they'll get found innocent or not guilty. But in any case, charge them and make them say in a court of law how they're not responsible or reckless in having their child get a gun. This case is outrageous. This case, last year, this kid threatened to shoot up the school, right? Last year he did it. His room, I understand now, is filled with idolizing school shooters. Now, mom and dad, do you not see a problem here, mom and dad? At the very least, they should have at least taken every weapon they have in that house and given it to the police or got rid of it. There should never have been a firearm in that house when they know that there's a problem with their son. They know it. My opinion, and I know again it doesn't go over big with everybody, is mom and dad, you're under arrest for accessory to murder. Let them go to court and prove that they had nothing to do with that. My 2 cents.
I I know how heavy you feel about it. You probably feel a lot of people don't feel the same, but I believe there are more people than you think feel the same way you feel about that. Just not expressing it the same way, but I think people feel the same way. And when you said it, I'm glad you said, get in the court and find out the reason behind that. Because I was going to say that I agree with that if the parent didn't safeguard that weapon or do everything humanly possible to safeguard that weapon. Then I'll go ahead.
Well,
Go ahead.
if I could just add to that,
Hmm?
the safeguarding is one thing, Donald. Safeguarding is one thing. But when you know that your child is a danger to the school and the community, it's more than safeguarding. Those weapons can't even be there. They can't be accessible to that child any which way.
Okay. No. Listen. I am not going to go toe to toe with you on that. You know why? Because right now in that school, 4 lives are gone and others are injured. So
Can
I
I
would
say
say
one more thing?
yes.
Real quick, one more thing, and then I'll move on. Here's a school that had two SROs, and the SROs could not prevent the shooting. Now, I've given speeches on this. I am pro SROs. I am all for it. I really am. But even they can't prevent a school shooting. They can't prevent it. They can
Well,
mitigate it. They can mitigate it, as they did in this case, very, very well and professionally. But they can't stop it. So armed guards, SROs, all the other things that they always throw out are not the answer to prevent it from happening. You need to make guns less accessible. And I'll move on.
well, Jim, I'm just gonna, I'm coming to you, Dave. I'm coming to you. For Jerry, and for those who don't know, SROs are school resource officers. They're police officers assigned to schools. So that's what the SRO is. Secondly, Jim, um, SROs, I agree with you 100% what you just said, because with police officers riding around, you can't stop gun violence. Just because you have law enforcement or a sense of security there doesn't mean you're going to stop the threat. So I would say that. Dave, I'm sorry for holding you up. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, Jim, I posted that same message earlier, man. How does a 14-year-old, okay, walk out of the house into a school with an AR-15 in the end of summer, beginning of fall, in the heat of Georgia? Okay, and then I said, taking lives, causing destruction, pain, and heartache. You got two promising young students, 14 years old, that will never realize their dreams anymore. You got two teachers who enjoyed what they were doing for a living, and they'll never get to see kids graduate that they taught. Okay. And meanwhile, you have the FBI sitting down with this young man last year and his father to go over some of the ugly posts that he posted about school shootings. But meanwhile, in Georgia, you don't have to safeguard your weapons. Right then and there, that father should have known. He saw his son's room. Who in here, who on this damn thread never go in their son's room? Shit, I'll kick the damn door in. Shit, I'm paying the bills. If I think something's up on my son, I'm going boom. I don't give a damn how old you are. You live over here, you're getting tossed. If I think something's up, But anyway, the FBI sat down with this young man and his dad last year, and this father still leaves his guns laying around the house, knowing that his son has some issues going on mentally. Okay, Jim, I agree with you, man. I agree with you, man. But down in those red states, Jim, they don't give a shit. They don't care. They don't care. It's like my thoughts and prayers. Okay, let's move on to tomorrow. It's ridiculous, man. Two promising young students, man, will never ever walk that stage and realize their dreams, man. A teacher, one of the teachers was also assistant football coach, training those kids. Football doesn't train you just for athletics; it trains you for being a man later in life.
Mm-hmm.
Athletics do that. We all play sports. We know it teaches you how to compete in life later on, survive and raise a family. But they'll never get that opportunity, man. Then I did not see these no empathy messages from Trump. He doesn't mean a he don't give a damn because it ain't his family. Brian Kemp, the governor now, and that gets on TV, he couldn't even look up. He couldn't even look up. They allow guns in colleges in Georgia and bars every damn where else down there they do. And there's no laws telling you they can secure your guns. None. And
Wow.
I'm tired of it, man. I'm tired of it, man. Those kids were describing what they saw. One young man, this young white kid said, "Well, I just thought I was going to die. I'm glad I had to use the bathroom, but I'm glad I didn't go because I probably wouldn't be here right now." He said that on the news. Young white kid. He had to hold his pee, his urine. Something told him, God must have told him, no, don't go out there. He waited, he said. And then he heard the shots and he went and hit.
Wow.
I'm telling you, man. Enough is enough, man. We need an overhaul of everything. We need a new administration, a new Congress. Okay, we need to get more people running in these states. I don't care if you lose or not. Run and test everybody. Okay, and we need a federal law. Because these red states, man, they just get away with murder. They'll take a blue state's money to fix up their problems. But meanwhile, they won't even protect their own citizens, their own children. And leaving ours in danger too. Come on, man. My son's daughter started school today. He told me, man, I was just nervous. I said, nervous about what? Don, I'm just nervous. I know what he meant.
Well,
I'm done.
I think one thing you said, Dave, is I think we had term limits. It would help. That way, someone would be in there forever, including Joe Biden, who was there forever. But if you have term limits, I think that would help a little bit. The question was asked about what could the FBI or what do we think the FBI could have done or should have done, and it was answered by one of the other panelists that remove the weapons. If you have the threat, remove the weapons. Like domestic incidents, they remove weapons. Jerry, you're frowning. Come on, say what you got to say. Come on, don't just frown at the screen.
No, it was only that I was like, but you guys have one point that's really, really good there. You talk about the federal policies being in place because Georgia, they can do anything they want to do with guns in Georgia. That's one of the things they kept talking about. The laws are not the same. So could the FBI, I guess, go in Atlanta and take the weapons from the kid? Because the state is saying, isn't that a concern?
Well, good. Great question. I don't have the answer, but maybe someone on the panel has the answer. What you just said was I thought it was a great question. If the state has no boundaries, can the federal government make boundaries?
Not without federal law.
Right. Okay.
Federal law. The FBI has no backing in federal law to take those guns. None. However, if you had a nice national federal law gun control, then maybe they could.
Thank you. Let me go. Thank you for your help because I'm still I don't know. Jamel, D, and Mark.
Yes, much a lot on what Jim and Dave was saying. We definitely need some common sense federal gun control laws in this country. And it's unfortunate, again, we have to wait until we have enough incident like we did yesterday to support the need for some common sense gun control law. From what I was watching yesterday, I believe that one of the female class students who was standing by the door, from my understanding, is that anyone exits, when it closes, it locks automatically. And when the young lady went to open the door for this young man, Gray, whatever his name is, she saw that he had a weapon in his hand. And thank God she did not open the door to allow him access into the classroom because, truth be told, probably his aggravation and frustration was with those classmates inside that class. And I think the carnage would have been much more even allowed inside the classroom. So that was great on that young lady for not allowing them access. But yet and still, there was some lives that were lost because of this young man. And again, I think that um, I I don't know, but I believe the behavior of his parents was that, they might have seen the signs that the son was exhibiting, but I think they just minimized it to it was normal behavior and there's nothing wrong with their child. And so, unfortunately, by them not really putting a microscope on the behavior of the child, we had this incident that took place yesterday, a lot of tragedy in many lives inside that school. And today was the first day of school in New York City, and I spoke with a few other parents yesterday, and they were very very much uneasy with sending their child to school on the heels of what took place there in Georgia. So yeah, it's early in the school year, and here we are, talking about mass shootings, and unfortunately, it had to be within a school environment where we all send our children or grandchildren, and we only hope that they're safe in school walls. But unfortunately, yesterday brought us back to reality that even our children are not in school. So yes, there has to be a large outcry for federal gun control laws that will make us all feel comfortable, when our little ones, go to these classes in schools, and so we don't have to worry about incidents that took place yesterday.
All right. Richard Bowden says, you can't prevent a school shooting. I'm currently working in Kentucky. Today on local news, they reported that in Kentucky, there is no law requiring firearms be secured in your home. And that's what Jim is talking about in a nutshell, that there need to be some federal guidelines. If the state's not going to do anything, then maybe the federal government should. And I agree with that. There's got to be some type of control over something so dangerous. You want to control the use of marijuana, why not control the use of guns? You want to control the use of other things, why not the use of something that's going to kill us or kill someone other than ourselves? I mean, if you smoke too much weed, it may hurt you and you alone, but a firearm is going to hurt someone else, and a lot of innocent people will get hurt as a result of it. I see you, Dave, and I'm coming right to you, D, Mark, Derek, and then Kyle. Go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah. Oh, I just wanted to say real fast, those SROs are going to need some kind of counseling too, because they develop relationships with a lot of those students. I know when I worked in a school here, they were real good with those students, had programs for them. Some of them helped out with coaching too after school. Mm-hmm. So they have some real relationships with those kids.
Yep. And listen, I was a resource officer. I know what they did. I know how much time we spent with them. I was one time the track coach. We've had classes. And you're right, Dave. We had personal relationships with kids. I mean, to prevent them from getting hurt. And then this happens, on your watch. So that's the other part. If you're home, it still hurts. But on your watch, that's a little difficult. And again, like Jim said, even with resource officers there, you can't stop a shooting if a person's going to do it unless it's right there in your presence. And then who's to say, hey, listen, you still may not be able to stop the shooting because they may get off first on you. You just don't know. So it's just hard to prevent. D, Mark, Derek, and Kyle.
All right, really quick, I wanted to give some context, just so everybody has the information. We're assuming everybody knows what happened and where it happened. This is in, I believe, Winder, Georgia, right? Appalachia High School. Mm-hmm. Four people killed: 2 students, 2 teachers, apparently. 2 resource officers. The question was asked by AC. The 2 resource officers addressed him right after the initial shooting, and he dropped his weapon. There's a system they have in place. They call it Centrigix. Now that all the teachers, it was in place for a week. All of the teachers have their on their actual IDs. There's a button you can push. Something similar to AirTag, if anybody knows that technology. It's like that. They know exactly where you are. Something's going on. Law enforcement was notified, and that's why those 2 resource officers were able to get right there and deal with him immediately. Dave, you said it right. Them resource officers, we're gonna have to take care of them. We're gonna have to take care of the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the FBI, the Barrow County Sheriff's Office. These are all the law enforcement that show up. What's always said is you're going through, these kids are going through something for this moment, but it affects everybody. It affects Melba, who's not far from there, right? Ty's not far from there. Derek's not far from there. When I looked at it on the map, everybody's you pass right through to get to your spot, right through there. All of these people, Cheech, CJ, they're all right down there. That's the people that are in this room right now. This thing is going to affect everybody. All of these people had to send their children, their grandchildren to school today. You're going to hug them a little tighter. Dave, you said about you're going to hug them. That's the first thing I thought about. You're going to hug them a little tighter. They got to go to school because what, your mindset is, what can you do? This is the 45th shooting this year, they tell me. This was reported. 45 already. And it's September. It's the beginning of the school year. I'm terrified. 45. Now, on most cases, they didn't know what the kid was going through. He purchased a gun somewhere. He was going through a bad time in school, and he decided to shoot people. They knew about this a year before. I'm not a gamer. Maybe some of you gamers in the room can help me. But he created a game that depicted school shootings. That's why the FBI in Jackson County, that's where he came from. He switched counties. When he went to Winder County, all of a sudden nobody knew anything. He created a game. They went to the house, knocked on the door. His parents said, and Karen Cuffey had a great comment. They said he would not have any unsupervised access to this weapon. And that blew my mind. What are you talking about? If there's a weapon there and he's developing this is in his mind, you as a parent, I'm not a parent, so y'all help me out. You as a parent got to have this kid 2 feet away from you. I don't know. This is a school shooting, a society we're in. And my kid is developing games and he has access to weapons. They say it was an assault style weapon that he used. And the father told the FBI that all he had was hunting weapons. I don't know. I seen many deer, some bull, some buffalo, some bison. I'm trying to figure out how an assault weapon is going to bring them down. I don't understand. I know that's what they say because it's a shoulder weapon. They consider some of them rifles. But I don't see how you can equate these type guns with hunting. And also, if this kid has unsupervised or supervised use, then he knows how to get that gun. He knows how to load that gun. He knows how to shoot that gun. That was very clear to me from the reports. Everybody's dropping the ball. I said months ago, you gotta do your job. I know freedom ain't free. That's my other thing. I always say it every week. Freedom ain't free. We're fighting for all these freedoms, but we got to be careful because now we got the freedom to kill. So how free are we really? I'm done.
Is there a video?
There is.
There is, huh?
Yeah, I wonder if everybody wants to speak first, or when we just started off on the conversation. So
I know. Because we pretty much know what we're talking about, but maybe we need to show the video, Mark, if you don't mind, and then we'll go to Mark, Derek, and Kyle. Do you guys mind if we do that first? All right, let's do that because it may add to their conversation.
At a high school in Georgia. This is the 8th school shooting of the new school year in the United States. 4 people were killed.
We are learning more about the victims of this tragedy and the suspected gunman, a student at the school just 14 years old. He will be charged with murder as an adult. Aaron Katersky is standing by with the very latest on the investigation. But first, Faith Abube starts us off on the scene there at the high school in Georgia. Good morning, Faith.
Good morning to you, Robin. Flags here on campus were flying at half-staff this morning. This community just now beginning to process the horrific events that happened inside this high school behind me. Overnight, officials reassuring this community that there was only one shooter and a teenage suspect remains in custody this morning. This morning, an urgent investigation underway after police say a 14-year-old went on a shooting rampage inside a Georgia high school, killing 2 fellow students, 2 teachers, and injuring 9 others.
I never imagined that I would be speaking to the media in my career over something that happened today, the pure evil that happened today.
Officials identifying the suspect as Colt Gray, a student at the school.
He will be charged with murder and he will be tried as an adult.
This student, Lila, told CNN the shooter was in her math class. She says he abruptly left the class and then tried to get back inside.
They lock automatically, so you have to be let in to come back into our classroom. So I think he wanted to come to us first to shoot us class. He turns the classroom to what would have been my right, and he just starts to shoot. And you hear like about 10 to 15 rounds back to back. He never really talked. He was pretty quiet. He wasn't there most times. Either he just didn't come to school or he just would skip class. But even when he would have talked, it was one-word answers or short statements.
Police say calls of an active shooter started coming in around 10:20 Tuesday morning.
What's happening to the high school? I don't know.
Within minutes, they were on campus helping the school resource officers already at the scene. Officers finding the suspect with an AR-15 style rifle. They say he surrendered without incident.
The shooter quickly realized that if he did not give up, that it would end with an OIS, or an officer-involved shooting. He gave up, got on the ground.
In this video from our affiliate WSB, police seen investigating the alleged shooter's house for evidence. Authorities identifying the victims as 14-year-old students Mason Schermerhorn and Christian Angulo, teachers Richard Aspinwall and Christina Eremy. Senior Fabian Williford was in class when he heard the first round of gunshots.
The guns sound like balloon popping, but like 10 times louder.
Sophomore Alexandra Romero filming this video from inside her classroom. Officers leading her class to safety.
I saw like my math teacher and he was all covered. I saw blood everywhere.
10th grade world history teacher Stephen Cramble protecting roughly 28 students when his class was notified they were on a hard lockdown.
There was a second of like, in my head, I just felt death like cross my mind. Where there was a moment where I'm like, I might die today.
11th grader Henry Vanderwalt frantically texting his mother. I think there's a school shooting. We heard gunshots and the police shouting. We're all in hard lockdown. Moments later, texting, I love you. Gwendolyn Cook rushing to the football field where the students were safely gathering, looking for her grandkids, alongside hundreds of other frantic parents.
Everybody came to get their children.
Overnight, an emotional vigil.
We are praying for you and for our community.
A heartbroken community gathering together amid tragedy. And Michael, a bit of good news here this morning. Officials telling us that all 9 victims who were injured will not only survive, but they will recover well. Meantime, the school is closed for the rest of the week as investigators try to figure out the motive. Michael.
And our thoughts and prayers with those families there. Faith, thank you so much for that. And let's bring in senior investigative reporter Aaron Katersky with the latest on the 14-year-old suspected gunman. Good morning, Aaron.
And good morning to you, Michael. Still hard to believe, 14 years old. And this appears to be yet another school shooting where the warning signs were clear. In May of last year, the FBI received anonymous tips about online threats to shoot up a school. The FBI traced those threatening posts on a gaming site to a then 13-year-old, but found no reason to arrest him. That same teen is now accused of killing 2 classmates and 2 teachers at his high school. At the time of the threats, the local sheriff questioned the teen and his father, who said that while he kept hunting guns in the house, his son did not have unsupervised access to them. But on Wednesday, police said the teen came to Appalachia High School in Georgia with an AR-style rifle and opened fire. Police are investigating still how he got the gun and how he managed to bring it inside. Right now, it does not appear, we're told, that he specifically targeted the victims. Investigators are now confident he acted alone, but they're still looking to talk to anybody who knew him. They've been searching his home and interviewing his parents, trying to determine a motive for what is the first deadly K-12 school shooting in Georgia in 25 years. All teachers at the school are equipped with a device that can alert the sheriff's department in an emergency. Those devices have only been in place for about a week, George, and thankfully in this case they were.
Yeah, okay, Aaron, thanks very much. We're going to get the
Thank you, D. Let me just say this before I go to Mark, Derek, and Kyle as well. No, we're receiving the news, but did anybody, after looking at that video or looking at the video previously, put yourself in that situation? Because as I'm looking at it right now, I'm sitting there saying, man, if I had to go there for my granddaughters or one of my grandkids, it's like, it's got to be terrible. I mean, it's really got to be terrible. Mark, Derek, and Kyle.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Condolences and prayers to all those who were involved, whether loss of life or just loss of friends or loss of staff members. Everybody's going to be impacted by that. Even us up here are impacted by that because it's another school shooting, another bunch of innocent lives taken. It's just way too much. I'm with Dave. How did this kid enter the school with a weapon? It's in the summertime. I dropped my grandson off one day for school, and he had a bottle of Gatorade, and he walked in, and they questioned him about the Gatorade. But this kid walks in with a rifle, and nobody questioned him on what he was carrying. Very weird. Right. I had heard through the news that during the investigation, they didn't want to ruin this kid's life. So that's why they didn't take the investigation further. So now I wonder about that. Who made that decision? Here you go worrying about this kid not ruining his life, but yet, now 4 lives are lost. The FBI guidelines, I don't know what they are. I don't know how often they deal with domestic incidents. I'm not really sure, but why couldn't they have the local police remove the guns from that household? Now, listening to that statement, we're not sure whether it was the parents' guns or he got the guns from somebody else's house. But I still feel the question was asked, and I still feel that all the weapons should have been removed until that kid got the help he needed through a therapist, a psychologist, or whatever. Just like we have in New York, domestic violence. If there's an issue with domestic violence, first thing they ask is any guns in the house, and then we remove them. And then later on, we give them back. Everybody's so hyped up about losing their access to weapons, like they can't live without them. We have officers on this panel who can carry guns, and they choose not to. And it's their decision, and there's nothing wrong with that. And guess what? They still live. They don't die as soon as the guns are taken away. So in this incident, why couldn't their guns be taken away just until that child received the help that he needed? That's it with that. I just don't understand. I want to ask one question that I don't know. Does anybody know the nationality of the shooter?
He's white.
He was white?
Yes.
All right. So maybe that was the biggest concern on not ruining his life, because I guarantee if he wasn't, they would have probably dealt with that a little bit differently. But that's just my opinion.
Jamel, you trying to sneak in there? Unmute yourself and fix your Wi-Fi.
Sir, I won't take long. It's here in this southern state, we black, white. Privilege, the fact that this is a student, and probably the community feels that all the students that are coming in here, they are law abiding, they're taught well at home. So we don't really have to observe them as much or treat them as much as we should. But by golly, this incident now will only tell these resource officers or whoever's doing security at these schools, stop these students and faculty and do your jobs. Do your jobs, regardless of what creed, color, race, sex they are. Go and do your job. Make sure these individuals that are in these premises are not armed. That's what I want to say.
Okay. Jamel, you may want to reconnect to us because your Wi-Fi is totally choppy. We don't get the gist of what you're saying.
Jamel, you're gonna have to move back to the United States because that overseas Wi-Fi ain't cutting it, brother.
Go ahead, Derek, Kyle, and Rich.
Yes, most of what I was going to say has been covered between the news personnel and the people that have gone before me. But I definitely agree that something needs to be done on a federal level. Obviously, removing everyone's guns isn't a viable option because the Second Amendment permits everyone to bear arms. But I think if something isn't done federally, maybe the individual municipalities could come up with a rule, a law. Police departments could come up with a procedure that if there is a person in the household that is deemed mentally unstable for some reason, that the guns be removed until the homeowner can prove that he has a viable solution to lock the guns up. And if he can't prove it, then don't give them back. But something has to be done. Again, this kid he created a game. He was questioned by the police a year ago, which means his parents knew, because you can't question a minor without the parents. So his parents knew. The father assured that he wouldn't have access to the guns unsupervised. And then he failed to make sure that the guns weren't accessible to his son. And I'm assuming it was the dad's gun, but that's what seems to be the consensus in the news down here. But something has to be done. It's not going to be a one-prong fix. It's going to have to be something where at different levels, different things come into play. And as far as bringing like an AR-15 into a school, they sell folding stocks. So the folding stock will chop the length of the gun down drastically because the brace that goes on your shoulder folds over to the side of the gun. So, if someone has like a duffel bag or something, they'll be able to fit an AR in there with a folded stock. But it's something has to be done, and it's going to have to be multi-level because it's very apparent that the federal government isn't looking to fix this issue.
Okay, Mark.
Yeah, two things. So, Derek, you said that, they can't remove the guns, but that's not true. We do it all the time in domestic incidents where there's a threat. Now, like I said, you may give the guns back, and you gave a good point that, if it's deemed that they have to prove that they have those guns properly secured, then yeah, give the guns back. But just like in domestics, we're not, when we take the guns, we're not infringing on anybody's Second Amendment. We have that right up in New York. So I think if we can do it up here, they can do it down there. The other thing too, is, from what I understood, the laws are different down there, even in questioning juveniles. They're not the same. So they may have been able to question the kid without the parents being there. And I thought that was interesting. I heard that from the news.
Well, the dad assured that the kid wouldn't have access to the guns unsupervised. So they spoke to the father. That's one. And secondly, because you can remove the guns in New York or in Hempstead, that doesn't mean they can do it in Georgia.
Exactly.
Jurisdictions are different. Laws differ from state to state, and procedure differs from department to department. So even though Hempstead is adjacent to Lynbrook or Rockville Center, your procedures are going to be different. So everything differs from department to department, even if the laws are the same in the state.
Jim, I see you, Jim. Go ahead. Kyle,
Yeah, I'm gonna feed this right to Kyle, because based on what Mark said and what Derek just responded to, I'm not sure, Mark, and I'm going to put this to Kyle, that I know that we in New York, we do remove weapons on family disturbances, etc. I don't think there's a law protecting us for that. We just do it for safety reasons. We do have red flag laws, but there's a process to remove guns under the red flag laws. I think that we in New York, and most departments, I can't speak for all of them, most departments will remove guns, but most of the time it's voluntarily. And I'm not sure, I'm throwing this to Kyle, I'm not sure that there's a law, other than red flag law, that protects the cops from removing guns.
Kyle? He threw it at you.
Yeah, it's state law. It's written, it's legislation that was passed statewide. It's not just Hempstead. The penal law allows for the removal, the safeguarding of firearms whenever there is a domestic incident, and particularly when an order of protection is issued. Prior to any order of protection being issued, that would be, voluntary. If they're not going to make an arrest, the police can make a request for that. But actually, in domestics, it's must arrest. So somebody's going if there's evidence sufficient for some sort of criminal charge. Police don't have that at discretion. They must arrest, and then that arraignment, the person's going to be issued an order of protection, and the police are going to that house. So probably the night before or the day before, at the time of the incident, remove those weapons from the house. So it is a state law here in New York to safeguard those any kind of weaponry, firearms or long guns, when there was a domestic incident. That's not the case in Georgia. So from my understanding, people are talking. I raised the issue about the FBI interview but the FBI didn't conduct the interview. It was done by the local police department or sheriff's department. They went to the house and conducted the interview. It wasn't FBI agents, that did it. And so I think what's bothering me about it is police are harping on the fact that the FBI conducted this interview. They didn't. They were notified, and they notified the local authorities to go and intervene. But they're not actually completing the story to say, what responses are available to law enforcement when they conduct these interviews. Absence of any state law that gives them the authority to make an arrest, the authority to remove weaponry, they can't just do it unless the homeowner or the people that own these weapons voluntarily surrender them for safekeeping. There has to be some authority to do what you're suggesting they do. They're all good suggestions, and Jim and Mark and Derek, all of you who are suggesting some federal laws, I think the whole panel probably is suggesting federal law, that we need federal guidance on this and federal laws for this. But absence of that, there's very little in these states where it's wide open to carry and use, and you don't have to secure. The local law enforcement and the FBI really don't have any options when they conduct these interviews and the person has not committed any crime. Here, the child denied, what they were accusing him of or questioned him about. The father reassured, and there really wasn't anything else that they could do. So I think the issues and the questions that we have about the parents and what the parents did they're valid questions, and that's where you need to do some probing and figure out whether or not they should be held responsible or not. But the local law enforcement, we don't know what questions they asked or how they conducted that interview. We don't know, but it wasn't specifically FBI agents who knocked on that door. It was the local authorities. I think I heard that a couple of times on the news, and then in this video that you just played, I think they said that the deputy sheriffs went to the house. So the responses are none, really. I mean, depending on you have to ask yourself the question, okay, if the child said, yes, I did it, what could they have done? If the child says, I didn't do anything, if the parents say, yeah, he doesn't have any access to, what are they going to do? There has to be laws in place to give the authorities, to give law enforcement the authority to remove weapons, to take whatever action. They can't just go in there and do what we would like them to do or we think they should do when there's no basis in law for them to do any of that.
Now, let me just jump in there real quick because Richard Bowden says if the FBI was notified or the sheriff, why didn't someone notify the ATF? I think you just answered that question right there because if there is no law, there cannot be any enforcement.
Yeah, what's the ATF going to do? What's the ATF supposed to do?
So I think you just answered. And I was going to get to it, but you answered it right there when you said that. If there's no law, then who has the right to do anything?
Right.
What happened to common sense?
Well, the parents can surrender the weapons. They could, for safekeeping, they could do a lot of things, right? But they chose not to do that. There's no law to force anybody to do anything here. So that's the problem. And I'm sure there's many, many households in that same situation.
And JT, I know what you're saying, but that's still no law. Common sense is no law. So it's still back to where Kyle was saying, if there's no law, then how can you enforce something that there's no law to enforce? So
when my turn come, I'm gonna read the Georgia state laws.
Okay.
After Rich.
You coming up real quick too, yep. Right after Rich. And that's why I said this is a great show for those who listen to us understand that what's legal in your state does not mean it's legal in everyone else's state. So we really got to keep that perspective, even us as a panel. Yeah, this is what we do in New York. That's not what they do in Georgia. It's not what they do in Kentucky. It's not what they do in Tennessee. You know, you got different laws, different jurisdictions, and I think someone said even different police policies. You know, Derek was saying that. So it's wide. And if you have federal law, then it covers everything. And that's why Jim is promoting federal law because it supersedes your state laws. All right. Let me go to Rich and JT.
Yeah, good afternoon. I just have two things. You know, we keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different outcome. You know what that's called? Insanity. They have to start somewhere. Just like Derek said, there needs to be layers of laws in place. And if you want to start federally, so all states are doing the same thing, I think we need to all agree that there need to be safe storage laws. If you're not taking guns away and people are haphazard and whatever, I think federally we need to have safe gun storage laws that everybody has to adhere to in every single state. Number one, that's going to cut down the access of kids getting these guns. And I don't know how the kid got the gun, whether it was actually the father's gun. I don't know all the particulars yet. I think we need to start there. And like I said, Derek said the layers. We need to have layers of laws in place to safeguard the kids, you know, in these schools. And you got to harden the school sites. Like I said about hardening sites, making it harder to get into these schools. I like the fact that the doors lock when somebody leaves the classroom. And they have this thing with the teachers that can notify the resource officers. So we're getting there. You know what I mean? And different states are doing different things, but I like that. I like that part of it because it could have been a whole lot worse. This guy's got an assault rifle. You know how many people he could have taken out. But because they have that system in place, that's great. You got to harden these sites. And if you have to get to the point where kids have to come to school earlier to get through a magnetometer to get into class, then maybe that's what we need to do. I mean, there's all these things we can do besides take everybody's gun away and ban all rifles, ban assault rifles. It's Murphy's Law. Here's my phone. You know, I feel that's what we need to do and make it happen now. We've had too much of this, and we're doing the same thing over and over. And lastly, I'll say can't turn this off. We need to hold the parents accountable. If this kid has been involved in doing all these things, glorifying shooters on his wall at home and that game with school shooting, there's some culpability here on the parents. I mean, my kid, I go into his room and he's got, mass murderers and serial killers all over his wall. Just on that, certain questions have to be asked. We got to do something. They have the responsibility to monitor their child, not to mention safeguarding the weapons in the home when you got a kid that's acting like he wants to do something. So basically, that's what I got.
All right, Rich. JT, we're waiting to hear you.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I was late, but I was late for a cause. But I was just talking to a friend of mine who used to live in New York. Now him and his family, most of Hempstead is in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And we were just talking about guns. There's gun laws in Georgia. This is how it reads. Gun laws in Georgia. And everything starts with no. No state permit required to purchase. No firearm registration. No assault weapons law. No magazine capacity restrictions. No owner's license required. No permit required for concealed carry. No permit required for open carry. No background check required for private sales. With all those no's, anybody can go down there and get a gun. Anybody can carry a gun. And how you get a gun in school, they don't lock all the windows. If this kid wanted a gun in school, he'd find an open window, plant the gun, go home, act like nothing happened. Next day, he got a gun, okay? Georgia is open season for guns. I asked this guy that used to live here, I said, how many guns you got? All he could say was plenty. He ready because he's from Hempstead, New York. He had a brother killed in Hempstead by the Hempstead police. I know because my brother was with the guy that got killed. Okay? This is not some bullshit off the top of my head because ain't much up there but hair. And that's very little. Georgia has the least restrictions to carry a gun. Anybody can buy one. You don't need a permit. You don't need ID. You just want to buy a gun.
Yeah.
The situation was tragic. But as D always say, do your job. Somebody stopped, didn't do their job. The next person said, oh, well, he didn't do it. Fuck it, I ain't going to do it. That should have been stopped. And you can't remove a gun from somebody's house. Common sense say, well, I'm going to do it for safekeeping. I give it back tomorrow, whatever. It ain't the law. And as Donald always say, just because you think it's right, it ain't right. I hear that all the time when I'm trying to go to sleep. Donald's saying that. It ain't just because you think it's right, it ain't right.
Or just because you have the right doesn't make it right.
You have the right to remove a gun from somebody. It don't have to be the law. You're not charging them. You're just removing the gun. If you see a gun on the street, you going to pick it up? You damn right. You ain't just going to drive out, that's another gun. Pick it up. Remove it from the house. You can give it back to them tomorrow. You ain't broke no law. You ain't broke no violation. You didn't charge nobody. You just removed the gun for safekeeping.
Well, JT, please take in mind that in Georgia, in New York, you may be able to get away with that, all right? In Georgia, where everyone knows they have a right to carry a gun, don't need to have no registrations on that stuff. You as a police officer, take a gun, you have to answer to your boss, who's probably sitting over there saying, why do you take that gun when he has a right to have that gun? Now you're fired.
No, I don't think so.
Oh, please, JT, really?
Well, really? I tell you what, go down there and try to disarm all them rednecks with the guns on the rack in the truck. Y'all want to disarm everybody in the world from their guns.
Yeah, you're not going to do it in Georgia. I mean,
you definitely ain't going to do it in Georgia.
No, it ain't going to happen. I don't even think a police officer won't get away with removing a gun from someone without a law being broken. Not in Georgia.
What's the law?
There is none.
What law did you break?
That's why you're violating their rights, because they have the right to have it, and you just took it.
Right.
That's a constitutional right, and it's also their state right.
Right.
I even have a problem with there are videos out there where officers will pull someone over in an open carry state, and the person will be openly carrying, and they take the gun, unload it until the car stop is over, and then they give it back. I have a problem with that. If it's an open carry state, the officer shouldn't have anything to do with your gun unless you committed a crime.
True.
That's the law.
I have a problem with that.
And listen, our personal feelings are great. I think our personal feelings are right on target. I really do. But if there is no law about you and your gun, then what makes me as a police officer have the right to remove your gun and not arrest you? That's like me saying this, JT. What gives me the right to go in your pocket and take $20?
You have no right to do that. That's a search. If you got a gun in the house and you're a police officer and you figure this guy is definitely might use it or he got too many of them, you take one. What law have you broken?
Well, might use it? Where's the probable cause? Where's any probable cause? Or where's your standard at? I mean, is your standard different from someone else's standard? There's got to be some type of boundary somewhere.
That is the problem. Everybody looking for, let me look this up. He got a gun, you take the gun, you don't charge nobody, you give it back in the next day. I don't see a problem with that.
And you don't, but you're not in New York, and you can't do that in other states. You just cannot, JT.
And there lies the problem.
You're right.
There lies the problem.
And that's, you're 100% correct there, because a police officer can't take a gun that's not illegal. The gun's legal.
JT.
Yo.
Your wife will go out of the house looking for her car to go food shopping, and she'd ask you, where's the car? Oh, we lost it in a lawsuit. You can't just take people's property.
Yeah. It's
not even for a day.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, JT, listen, your problem is this. It's the same problem that all of us New Yorkers have. We think it's our way, and that's the way it's got to be. But
it's not a New York problem.
No, I didn't say New York problem. I said the way we think. The way we think. In New York, like even Mark started off with saying that you remove the gun for domestic violence. We have the right to do that for safety reasons, whatever. But if you're down someplace else and that's not the law, you can't decide what the law is. You can't make up your own law because you felt that way.
So you can go in somebody's pocket and take $20 or some coke out, and the law says you can't keep it, you can't take it.
Yeah, then you broke the law.
Well, I broke the law a lot of times.
You broke the law. But if there was no law for you going to your pocket and taking $20, then you couldn't stop me from taking it if it was no law.
You know how much weed I threw up in there on Terrace Avenue?
Yeah, I can imagine.
None is the answer. None is the answer.
And I'm still imagining. But JT,
hypothetically,
let's say it did happen. Let's say it did happen. Now, who broke the law?
Who broke the law when? Throwing up the weed?
Oh yeah,
taking it and not vouchering.
Yeah. Now who broke the law?
Name a cop on the panel. Name a cop on the panel that hasn't broken some kind of law.
Huh?
Name a cop on the panel, or even a civilian that hasn't broke a law.
Well, I ain't gonna.
I know you're gonna stutter, but you.
No. I'm gonna tell you what. I've been guilty of speeding.
Of course. Okay, that's one. Derek, what's yours?
Oh, listen, I've done things that you're not supposed to do. But
exactly, Rich.
But think about it now. We're old. We're
We
old school
all
people.
have broken the law sometime.
Right. I haven't taken anyone's gun from them. There's a difference between taking a nickel bag off someone and scrubbing it out with your foot. See, the thing that differs also is depending on where you work, the desk officer wouldn't allow you to bring certain things in. If it was what he considered to be very minor,
was one of them. Jim Kiernan was one of them.
Right. If it was considered to be very minor, you're not bringing, and the lieutenant would say on the desk, or the sergeant would say, don't bring this bullshit in here. Yeah. So you squash it at street level. But that's not taking someone's gun for the night.
It's a law. It's a law.
I understand.
The bottom line is,
the difference is someone isn't going to sue you over their nickel bag. Someone will sue you over taking their gun.
Yeah, because
I actually say, JT, you might get shot with another gun trying to take somebody's gun from them. I'm just saying. They might pull another one out and might shoot you while you taking their gun. I'm just saying.
You might
get shot with that gun the next day.
You've been on patrol a long time, JT. How many years ago did you retire?
Over 20.
Right. Things have changed. Patrolling isn't the same. Patrolling isn't the same in 2024 as it was in the 80s. It's not the same.
No.
I just have to, can I just say this? There's a fundamental difference between a police officer exercising his discretion to make an arrest, to confiscate evidence and bring an arrest process, and essentially giving someone a pass on the street, and you going into someone's home and taking property that they lawfully have, okay? You're mixing apples and oranges. Right. I just have to say that, can't leave that hanging like that. They're two, you cannot equate these two scenarios. I give officers, obviously, what you're talking about, JT, is officers exercising their discretion on the street to bring a charge, arrest someone, confiscate someone's property, and bring them in, as opposed to you going into someone's house and just, unlocking and bringing, and getting their stuff. So that just needs to be said. It's not the same thing. It just isn't. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's why I'm here. That's exactly why I'm here. To hear why it's still happening all over the world. It's because we don't have a law to stop us from doing it.
Right. JT.
They don't have a law to stop them from killing people.
Yeah.
Now, JT. They're going to try this kid as an adult from the start, but I guarantee you, by the end of the trial, it'll be dropped down from whatever it is to whatever it can be. That's the biggest problem I got. You get charged with murder one, that's what you get tried for. Ain't no plea bargain. That shit is going down, done sailed. You plea bargain, he gets 6 years instead of 20. So in 6 years, you got to worry about this asshole.
Jamel, I'm going to let you slip up in there, and I'm going to go to Mark and Jim.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say, JT, most of us probably don't agree with the lack of gun control laws in Georgia, but yet and still, it's a different state. And, we just have to respect the laws that Georgia have, even though we may not agree with it, JT.
That's it.
If you go to Georgia, you'll find most of the people from New York in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia.
That's true too, but the laws haven't changed. I don't care how many people have changed. The laws are still the same in Georgia. Period, regardless of where you came from. You better adjust.
There ain't no laws in Georgia.
Listen, that's my point. You better adjust to their laws and not think they're going to adjust to yours.
I ain't going down there.
Me either. I was there.
I ain't going down there. I'm not flying over Georgia. My relatives in Georgia, they in Georgia. How you doing? Goodbye. I ain't going to Georgia. I don't know how Melba lived down there.
Well, Melba doesn't, she's not involved in anything. Jamel has a house down there.
Who?
Jamel.
Jamel, you live in Georgia? Damn, boy.
Jamel rich, man. Mark,
I got two residences, JT, New York and Georgia.
Well, when you leave Georgia, you better hurry up to New York.
Mark and Jim.
So JT, your heart's in the right place, but you have to understand. And we talked about this before. You have a New York state of mind, so you had the authority to remove guns while you were in New York, as stated by Kyle. It was a state law, so that backed you up. But if Georgia, as you read, doesn't have any laws pertaining to the removal of guns, then you can't do it. And for you to do it based on good faith, you'll still be liable, and you could end up losing your job, and it's not worth it. So your heart's in the right place. You want to do the right thing, and we understand that, and we agree with it. But unfortunately, down there, because the laws don't back up officers from doing that, they simply can't. The other thing I wanted to say real quick is they still haven't determined where the gun came from. So although we kind of been hammering the parents, we don't know where this AR-15 style rifle came from. So until that's investigated and determined, everything's up in the air. So, Kyle brought out that it wasn't really the FBI, and that was a good point she made. But the bottom line is, until they find out how he got the gun, it doesn't matter about liability. You got to find out where he got it from first before we can then assess any type of liability as far as that goes.
Well, I'm just assuming if you run one of those guns in somebody's house that got 6 or 10 guns and it comes up stolen, can you remove it?
According to what you read, it don't sound like it.
Well, if the gun is stolen.
Oh, the gun's stolen.
Yeah, if his gun is stolen, can you remove it?
Oh, yeah. Now a crime has been committed. So yeah, it's property of a crime. So yeah, you can remove it. But other than that, like I said, until they find out more about where that gun came from, we can't really blame the parents. That was my point.
You had said before to somebody about the parents being liable. I don't believe that. Because you don't, just like you said, you don't know where the gun came from.
Well, until they find out.
But you get charged with
it. If they find out that the parents did have that gun, then they failed to adhere to what they told the police about that kid not getting the gun. Remember when they said, oh, yeah, we're going to block access to the guns? Right. Which to me, the fact that this kid was taught how to do it, I think there was an attitude of freedom with the gun, and that's unfortunate.
Right.
Was he taught, or was that just what we're saying? He was taught?
No, we're assuming that he was taught because.
Oh, okay. I was like, maybe I missed something.
Somebody said that he didn't have unsupervised access to the guns, which leads you to believe that he has access to the guns, but it's just supervised. Yeah. See, like if I asked you, does your granddaughter have access to the guns? You're not going to say only supervised. You're going to say no.
Right.
But if you have freedom in that house and that Georgia state of mind, so to speak, then you're going to say, oh, yeah, but it's only supervised. Mm-hmm. So it's a different frame of mind. And like I said, I just caught that word and the way it was framed, which leads me to believe. But it's just my assumption.
All right. Jim?
Yeah. I want to go back to my original thing about national gun control and the need for it. We're all on the same page with that. But just to address what Mark said about the parents, my point is this. My point is, and it's one state, and I can't remember which one already did charge and convict 2 parents.
Michigan.
Was it Michigan? And they got sentenced. They are in prison, these people, for that. The point I'm making is, and we don't know if he got this gun from the street or he got it from a neighbor and not the parents, obviously, then what I'm saying doesn't count. What I'm saying is, if those parents knew what they knew, and I think we all assume by the reports that they knew their son had an issue, if they didn't do everything necessary to keep those weapons away from him, they should be charged with the crime. As simple as that. Now, here's the problem. Here's the problem. It's the state of Georgia. They don't have that law there.
Right.
I'm saying we need a national law that makes Georgia charge them or make it a federal crime. Make it a federal crime, but make it to where the states can't say, like Georgia, they close their eyes. Well, we don't care. In fact, mom gave him the gun to shoot squirrels on his way to school. No, we've got to start holding parents criminally responsible nationally, not just in Michigan. I'm not even sure if we have anything like that in New York, to be honest with you. I guess there's some kind of reckless behavior charge you could come up with, but certainly not the murder. Well, maybe we should consider that in New York as well. Let me just finish with this, and then I'm done. Having national gun control does not violate the Second Amendment. I bring everybody's attention back to the Heller case, where Washington, D.C., I don't know how many years ago now, Washington, D.C. wanted to ban all guns in Washington. And the case went to the Supreme Court. And Justice Scalia, when he was alive, gave this finding. He said that they cannot do it because banning all weapons does violate the Second Amendment. However, in his dissertation, he said that states certainly have a right to put gun control as much as they want, restrictive gun control in the various states. So, and this guy is the most conservative gun guy that the court ever saw. So what he's saying is it is not a violation of the Second Amendment for gun control. It's not. So nobody's coming to take all your guns out of your closet. They're just putting one national law that restricts guns in certain areas. And as a side note, yeah, I do agree with banning all types of assault weapons. I think there's absolutely no, they're instruments of killing. End of story. Instruments of killing and nothing else.
Okay.
Jim, I think the story you were talking about where the parents got incarcerated, they bought the gun for the kid. I'm pretty sure.
I think they even trained them on it. I think they were all part. Yeah. But I think, JT, I think you see around our country more and more of that. Not in New York as much because we're tough gun control. But in some of these, western and southern states, taking your kids out to shoot the AR, it's part of the day, their daily habit.
Why are they waiting on dinner? It's true. It's true.
I think we've had a great conversation on this. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mo.
Yeah, Jim, you made a good point, except the one error where you said nobody's coming in your house to take your guns. JT already said he's coming to your house to take all the guns out.
Damn skippy.
So, exactly. Look out.
I'm going to the back door. I'm going to the back door too.
Hey, listen.
To the back door, Jim.
We all listen to Derek now, so we're only going to answer you through our ring. You're not coming in.
I don't know, JT, if you'll make it down my block.
but I did
I'll be in the corner.
I did want to say this, and the problem you're going to have, and I agree with you, Jim, we do need a national law, but the problem is there's so many states that don't want the federal government ruling over them. Yeah. And that's unfortunately what we all suffer from. Laws that make sense, if they want to go nationally, will be fought by states who just arbitrarily listen. You feds are not going to come in here and tell me how to run my state, and that's that. So that's what we run into, more politics.
That's why we had a civil war with that kind of thinking, created the Civil War.
And we'd be fortunate if it even got to the states, because whoever the NRA donates a lot of money to, they may not pass any laws for them for it to even get to the states. So
interesting. Well, listen, guys, I know we're coming to an end, and just like we said at the very beginning, we probably only get through the one conversation. But listen, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed your input, your thoughts. I'm really glad that we have a real legal-minded person sitting with us to kind of like guide us a little bit when we've fallen off. Because sometimes as police officers, we think we can do what we want to do, and we can't do what we want to do. There are laws to even guide what we can do. And one thing I just want everyone to keep in mind is that, don't think every law is based on the laws where you're guided by. There's the laws change, and that's why before HR 218, many of us wouldn't carry our gun past the state line because we didn't know what the laws were in the individual states. Because you had to know whatever state you were going through, what were their gun laws. You had to know that, or you'd be a fool to be riding around with a gun in your car that's legal in New York but not legal here or there. So HR 218 kind of helped us out with that, which gives us federal right to carry our guns throughout the states. But without that, you'd be an absolute fool to ride around here with your gun in a state that you can't have a gun. And one was New Jersey.
New Jersey got to be unloaded and away from the ammo. That's the fucking gun.
That's what it used to be, JT.
It used to be. It's not no more.
Not with HR 218. You remember? Because Derek and I knew a sergeant that got arrested, lived up in Orange County, and had to go through Palisades through New Jersey to get upstate, and he got arrested for carrying his gun coming home from work.
The only thing that HR 218 didn't cover that Jersey still demands is don't come up there with hollow points.
Oh yeah. Well,
you can't have hollow points in New Jersey. Period. You can have.
Did that get passed this last year, or now you can?
I didn't hear that.
Okay, I thought I remember something coming down the last year. Yeah,
I would double check that because they were adamant about hollow points.
Yes, they were.
Even if they were, and we were in a quandary, so to speak, because we carried hollow points as our service ammo, and they still didn't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't even a choice of ammo. That's the only ammo we were supplied, and Jersey still didn't want to hear it. So then you had to go to a ulterior bullet that similar to a hollow point, but it skated around the law to where it wasn't in violation.
Let me just say this real quick as a notification. The one thing you get from HR 218, you're not allowed to have a magazine with a capacity of more than 10 rounds. Right. So even if you have a magazine that holds 17 rounds, but you only have 10 in there, you have broken the law. You have broken, and I'm saying it for law enforcement, so you don't get jammed up thinking, well, I only have 10. No, you can't have the capacity of more than 10.
Yeah, there's certain guns I have that I know I can't carry into Jersey because the capacity is too high. Matter of fact, I ended up talking Donald into buying a similar gun that I carry.
Yep.
Because it's an automatic and it has less than 10. So,
Jim, we're going to go now anyway. So thank you for holding out. We'll see you, Jim. Take care.
All right, Jim. I'll be at the house later.
Listen, thank you guys for joining us on Facebook Live. Thank you to those on the panel. Listen, I know we were there, and it was very interesting. I see you, Mark. I'll get to you in a second. 1 second. I see you. We sometimes we get caught up in it, and usually we get caught up in it on my shift, and I'm going to take it. I know how that is, but I don't like cutting people off when they're talking about something and they have it's really serious on their heart and in their mind. So I keep letting it go. But thank you so much for joining us. Mark has something to say, and I think Dee going to have a video for us. I don't know, but we'll go from there. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I was just going to remind you, Dee's got a real short video that he wants to share with you guys, I think.
Okay.
You don't? I don't mind.
You said no.
The short one. No, I got one, though, but it's long. It's too long. So go ahead.
You don't have the one I sent you? They're real short, the first two.
You can't send it to me while we're on the air.
All right, I got you. Understood. Sorry about that.
All right. Listen, thank you guys so much. If it's God's will, we'll see you next week. Beverly Wells says, as usual, informative and interesting panel discussion. Thank you, Sister Beverly Wells. I appreciate that because we don't want to get boring on here. We want to keep it where it's informative, like you said. And we also even spoke about giving our opinions on certain things. as a result of some things that we were talking about. I'm gonna give you mine real quick. If I was in Georgia, I wouldn't touch nobody's guns. If I was a police officer, I don't care what's going on over there. If Georgia said you can do it, I ain't messing with you. If I was a police officer, because the laws protect you, and it probably won't protect me from taking it. So that's how I look at it. Others may look at it differently, and that's really on them. And that's a chance that everyone would have to take. But if there is no law, I'm not gonna make one up. That because I felt a certain way. Anyone else before we close?
Just want to shout out to all of the New York City students that started school today. I hope they have a successful academic year without any type of violence or tragedy. And that goes for all the school districts throughout the country. All
right, Jamel, I got one thing to say to you. Did you just pay your Wi-Fi online, or what happened? Wi-Fi well right now. Okay, listen. Thank you, guys. Jerry, thank you. Kyle, Mark, D, Rich, Derek, JT, Jamel.
I started to say, well, look.
No, Dave and Jim. I said off the air. I said off the air. God, our Father, I thank you for allowing us to come together. I thank you for everyone on this panel and those who are on Facebook Live. Pray to God you continue to watch over us and keep us more hurt, harm, and danger. We continue to pray for healing for those we called out earlier, especially for Isabel. And praying to God you continue to touch her. And Cheech, we're praying to God you continue to touch him. We thank you now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.